Your favorite podcaster, CIA propaganda. Next, you're gonna tell me the CIA is listening to me on my phone. No way.
The CIA used to be a faceless organization. 3 letters that conjured images of redacted documents and men in suits who didn't exist on paper. The whole point of an intelligence agency was that you don't know what it's doing. Now, you can't scroll through YouTube without one of them.
It's that guy that was supposed to interview with Pippa, or with Hassan, and Pippa denied him by telling him to not interview with him. It's that dude.
Handedly sharing dark secrets about how all of this works. You've probably seen clips of it yourself, like the grey-haired American man calmly explaining how the CIA told him to pretend to be gay to recruit a foreign spy.
Pretend to be gay. That's what he wants you to think.
So we reached out and spoke to him for exclusive insights, as after seeing clips like this, it was hard to ignore something weird was going on.
Headquarters says, "We want you to pretend that you're gay." I said, "Oh, come on, you guys. No, we really need the information. You gotta pretend that you're gay." I said, "Okay."
Fuck, I will do it for the good of the country. Imagine it's like America's secrets are on the line. You gotta pretend to be gay. And you're like, what? What do you mean pretend? They like sit you down at your desk and you're like, what do you mean? Come on, what? Huh?
I'll do it.
I'll do it for America.
I'll do it for Uncle Sam.
Or how his boss ordered him to sleep with the ugliest woman he'd ever seen.
What?
For the good of the country.
Yo, that woman's got on blast. Imagine she sees this interview and is like, wait, I thought you liked me.
Who was the ugliest woman I've ever seen in my life. Like, you want to avert your eyes. Like, she came off the side of Notre Dame. She was a stone gargoyle with a giant mole right here with a giant hair coming out of it. That kind of ugly. And my boss says,
hey,
okay,
everyone's beautiful.
Here's what I want you to do. I want you to fuck her. And I said, what?
No, this is made up. This can't be real.
What? I said, have you ever seen her? And he said, I know, but we're the good guys, and you're gonna have to take one for the team.
Or how the agency dosed random strangers with LSD in San Francisco brothels.
Oh, that's like well known. Yep, that's well known. Yep.
They rented a safe house in San Francisco. They recruited a bunch of hookers and had them go out and pick up Johns, bring them back to the safe house where they thought they were gonna get laid, dose them with LSD, and then interrogate them.
Or how things that were once conspiracies are now just mainstream knowledge.
Yep.
I believe very strongly that he was an Israeli access agent.
No such thing as an ex-glowy. I'll get to that. I see that little chatter. I think you are onto something. Hold on.
No
I'm not
way.
gonna.
The CIA's job is to collect foreign intelligence.
Yo, doctor, thank you for the
What foreign
3
intelligence
months
did
in
he
advance. I
have? He's
appreciate
spying
it.
on Bill Clinton and Bill Gates and Prince Andrew. That's the Israelis.
And he's not
Those
alone.
damn
The intelligence
Israelis.
community is flooding the podcast circuit right now. Gavin DeBecker, not exactly a former intelligence officer, but the man who runs anti-assassination protection for the world's most famous, said this about Epstein.
What he was is a construct. He's a created construct. Money, wealth, private jet, private island, fun, not married, young girls, lots of things. $500 million of money came from Les Wexner, who's a wealthy guy who owns, or owned, I don't know what he's doing now, Victoria's Secret, big donator to the state of Israel. And $500 million was transferred to Epstein, along with power of attorney to use it and invest it in the ways he saw fit.
He even described a friend who narrowly avoided it.
He goes to meet with Epstein in New York to ask for money for a charity, and Epstein is in a robe. And Epstein says, hey, they're finishing the meeting. He says, hey, I'm gonna get a massage, hence my robe. You wanna get a massage? And through the hallway, my friend can see a massage table and a room and a very cute girl.
The Epstein situation is where John Kiriakou, a veteran ex-CIA operative, has
Ex-CIA operative.
gone mega viral with his bombshell disclosures. On the Diary of a CEO, he went further than he had before.
Do you think Jeffrey Epstein was a spy?
I believe very strongly he was a spy, yes.
And who do you think he was working for?
The Israelis. I'm confident.
Mossad agents.
It was the
Chad, if I suddenly have my brakes not working in my car tomorrow, you'll know. You'll know it's because of this video.
Israelis.
Mossad
Why?
got me.
Jeffrey Epstein is kind of the stereotypical example that they give you in training for what's called an access agent. If you're a foreign intelligence service and you want information, like close-in information from a former president, from the CEO of the biggest company in the world, from a member of the British royal family, you're not going to recruit these guys. You're not going to recruit Bill Clinton.
And he's made the same point on so many other podcasts with remarkable consistency.
I mean, what's the point of running the operation if it's not to collect compromat? It was about blackmail.
Yeah,
it had
of
to
course.
have been. I don't understand it otherwise.
Of course, and everybody spies on each other. Just for the record, everybody does this. That's the whole point. They have fucking spy games probably that we don't know about too, where they practice on each other instead of doing the real thing. You know that shit.
Then take
Yeah.
10 minutes to look into it, and they're like, "Oh my
Everybody
God,
does
he's
it.
running a fucking pedo ring at the behest of the Victoria's Secret guy in fucking New York City." And oh my God, they got dirt on everyone, including the current president. This is a crisis.
Do they even have some spy families or something? Absolutely. I'm pretty sure there's been so many discoveries of spies who lived like double lives and they had kids, and it turns out that they were spies.
The likes of which, if we outed this, everything could fall.
It's traumatic,
Yours
cutting,
really,
and critical of the highest
It's
institutions of government. And some of his other disclosures, probably the ones that get less attention because they're harder to meme, are just as unsettling. This video is sponsored by Incogni. Most people assume their personal
Incogni's
data is
nuts.
scattered around the internet by
It's cringe, just let the
accident, but in
presidents
reality,
1v1
there's
on
an
Midtown.
entire
Yeah.
industry built around collecting and selling it. Data brokers
This is
compile
cringe.
huge
This
profiles
proxy
of people,
fighting
name,
is
addresses,
cringe.
phone
Make
numbers,
the
family
presidents
numbers,
1v1.
browsing habits, and then sell that information to companies you've never even
Would Alana
heard
tell
of.
us if she
Once
was a
your data
spy?
is in those
Yes.
databases, it spreads fast. But Incogni helps remove it. Instead of trying to track
Incogni.
down dozens or even hundreds of data
Incogni.
broker sites yourself, Incogni contacts them on your behalf and requests the removal of your personal information. And they don't just do it once, they continuously monitor and send removal requests as new databases appear. So
Nice.
rather than spending hours chasing these companies individually, Incogni handles the process automatically. So if you want to take back your personal data today, use code MOONREAL at the link below and get 60% off the annual plan. That's go to incogni.com/moonreal to get started today. On the Danny Jones podcast, he described what came out of the Vault 7 leak. Tens of thousands of pages of classified CIA documents dumped to WikiLeaks in 2017 by an angry software engineer. The revelations feel like they're from a movie or a video game.
He revealed that the CIA has developed technologies to, for example, remotely take over your car by hacking into the chip, right? Why would the CIA want to take over your car? To make you drive off a bridge, maybe?
To make it stop so that they can kidnap you, anything. No, I'm telling you, I don't know, man. Some people are like, I've had people tell me like, oh, Alana, you should get a new car and make sure that it's before 2026 because they're gonna install stuff that shuts off your car, depending on the situation. Like cops can do that. Anyone could do that, probably, if I had to guess.
To make you drive into a tree and kill yourself? To make you drive into an abutment and make sure that there's no way you can survive because they've got the thing going 140 miles an hour and you can't control it? They developed technology to reverse your smart TV, to make the speaker into a microphone with the TV still appearing to be off so you don't know that it's broadcasting everything that's being said in your house to CIA headquarters.
And then this one, which is shocking though probably not surprising, yet he's somehow presenting it as a simple fact.
They were able to hack into other countries' most sensitive technological systems and to leave little scraps of code, but the scraps of code are written in Russian or in Persian, in Farsi. So people say, oh, the fucking Russians hacked into us, or the Chinese, or the Iranians.
Oh my God! Just gaslight him.
And actually, no, it was us.
It was
But you'll
damn
never know it.
Russians.
The way these
it's those damn Russians. I fucking knew it.
stories are delivered makes you think they're putting their lives on the line to tell us, like a noble act for the good of us.
I will say this, with how charismatic and how much he knows and how much he's disclosing, if they really didn't want us to know, they would have killed him. I'm of the opinion that people like this, that like they say like, oh, I'm 100% a spy. I do think it's supposed to be some sort of psyop. Yeah, like he's telling the truth, but it's to like basically make you okay with it. He exaggerates. I don't think it's exaggerating. I don't.
Public. Access agent, compromat, intelligence peddler. He sounds like an insider decoding the story.
It's always some propaganda. Well, I don't think it's propaganda so much so that they're gauging how people react to it, because I do think there's some merit to propaganda of like, oh, we can hack into your shit, so they scare the public into like basically psyoping themselves to behave better because the CIA could be listening at any point. But I also think like there's probably a lot of things that are true. Like honestly, I don't think that them hacking into the TV and then listening to you is actually that far-fetched. I don't think that. Like why not? Like it doesn't seem that fucking insane.
Civilians.
The technology's there. It's not like it's fantasy technology like fucking Star Wars was fucking spaceships and shit. I don't think it's that fucking hard to do.
It definitely backs this up. But if you look really carefully, you start to see a few deviations that make you wonder what's really going on here. His views evolve, but the timing is key. On his earlier appearances, he was strong on Epstein being a Mossad access agent. Then the latest tranche of Epstein files came out, and suddenly, his position moved.
I've always maintained that Epstein, to me, was obviously a Mossad access agent. And I said that right here on the show. Now, with the release of this latest tranche of documents, I think he was more than that, and that he was probably not exclusive to the Israelis. We know from these latest documents that he had some sort of association with MI5 and MI6, essentially the FBI and the CIA of the UK. We know that he made an approach to the German intelligence service. And we know that he tried hard to get a one-on-one meeting with Vladimir Putin.
When he says Epstein was an Israeli agent, that theory had been circulating for years.
What does having relations with other spying or other countries have to do with it? You could still have a vested interest in the country that you're like loyal to. Yeah, I don't know.
Based on
Again, I like this guy. I think he's super duper interesting, but I don't know. I always take things with a grain of salt when people say like I'm a spy or like I'm an ex-spy. I'm like, you wouldn't be talking if they wouldn't let you talk. Like
Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell's documented Mossad ties. When he describes the hidden cameras on the island, the New York Times had already reported them long before he mentioned them. When he describes the sweetheart deal, that was one of the most covered aspects of the entire Epstein saga. On torture programs back around the 9/11 and Guantanamo Bay era, John got ahead of the official narrative and paid for it with his freedom. On Epstein, he doesn't take any real risk. On the safest possible question, did Epstein take his own life, he goes with the consensus.
Did he commit suicide?
I believe he did.
You really believe he did?
People don't realize that in the Bureau of Prisons, everybody has his head up his ass. The cameras never work. The guards are always sound asleep. This happens all the time. These suicides, they happen like literally every day in American prisons.
That might be the single lowest risk position on the single most controversial question in the entire Epstein story. He even hinted at how he might not know too much at all.
I said that I was confident that Epstein was a Mossad access agent. And I believe that I've been proven correct.
So he was proven correct by information that became public, not by anything he independently knew.
Yeah.
Which should tell you how much deeper...
His credibility would go up if he said that he did, and then more stuff came out that approved of what he said in the past, rather than what he was saying was the consensus. Yeah, it gives you credibility.
the Epstein story really
Makes
goes,
sense.
when even serious CIA whistleblowers can't give you something extra. It makes you ask how absurdly dark it is when those who literally went to prison for whistleblowing only confirm the information drip-fed to us. But the aim is not to discredit John, as he's a rabbit hole in himself, and that tells you a lot about why the CIA is trying to make intelligence accessible to the public in the first place. He spent 14 years in the CIA. He led the raid that captured one of the first major Al-Qaeda figures taken after 9/11. He was the first US government official to confirm that the CIA was waterboarding prisoners. And then he went to prison for it.
If I was a CIA director, I would make them drip feed things to the public to see if they would be okay with it. Because rather than it coming out and exploding in saying a Snowden incident and it coming out that they torture kids, which I don't know if they do or not, but I'm sure maybe they do. But my point still stands is if it's some guy saying it, it's better than a tabloid and it would be outrageous fucking news. They just kind of go yeah, we might have done that. Yeah, why not? I mean, yeah, sure. Yeah, there's aliens in Area 51. Yep.
Not for torturing anyone, but just for talking about torture, where John would see 23 months inside of a prison.
Did any of the people who were torturing other people wind up in jail?
Not a single one. The torturers.
I'm sorry, it's so crazy.
It's nuts. It's nuts. The torturers didn't go to jail. The people who conceived of the torture, the people who funded the torture, appropriated taxpayer money for the torture, the people who implemented it, nobody went to prison but me.
He studied Middle Eastern Studies, got a master's in legislative affairs, and as graduate professor, a CIA psychologist
Ultra intelligent.
recruited him into the agency. And
To be able
almost
to speak
immediately,
those two
he found
languages and
himself in
shit.
the room where it all happens. He described being sent to the White House at 26 years old, the day after Iraq invaded Kuwait.
And we all sit down. The president tells us, sit down. We sit down and the president says, well, now what do we do? And everybody turns and looks at me. I said, Mr. President, as you know, Iraqi troops crossed the border at 2 o'clock this morning. And I said, actually, he's the co-founder of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. The vice president shouts, Jesus Christ. And then the president says, gentlemen, thank you. We'll take it from here. And I remember saying to myself, my friends would never believe in 1,000 years what I was doing right now. They wouldn't even believe me if I told them.
Yeah, and now you're on a podcast telling it to everybody.
An analyst does. When I switched to operations, again, the job was very straightforward. It was to recruit spies to steal secrets. But then if you're involved in counterterrorism operations, there are a lot of extras that you have to be trained in. So you go through the normal spy training. This is how you ingratiate yourself. It's something called the asset acquisition cycle. Spot, assess, develop, recruit.
After 9/11, they made him chief of counter-terrorist operations in Pakistan, and he was involved in some high-level raids.
Insane.
There's absolutely no doubt that he was in deep. At one of the sites, they found Abu Zubaydah, which is the guy he went to prison over building a bomb. He then tries to escape across the rooftops and was shot but kept alive. Then came the offer that would define the rest of John's life. CIA officials approached him and 13 other officers about being trained in enhanced interrogation techniques. On Carlos Watson's
enhanced
show, he explained how
waterboarding.
that panned out pretty much like the movie scene you can imagine it as.
Well, I was one of 14 people asked if I wanted to be trained in the use of what they called enhanced interrogation techniques. I was the only one of the 14 who said no. Besides being immoral and unethical, I thought it was illegal. It was illegal.
A colleague
He's super charismatic too. He probably has done some horrible shit if he's talking about what he is really. If he says enhanced interrogation, he did some fucked up shit probably. And yet they layer it behind this charisma, which makes it sound more palatable. And being on a podcast instead of being interviewed, I don't know, at a news station or I don't know. Again, it's personable. Does that make sense? Made them play League of Legends. No, they made them play DBD. That's your enhanced interrogation. No, you have to play until you win.
who happened to be a psychiatrist pulled him aside.
He said to me one day, buddy, they
God.
call you the human rights guy behind your back. And I said, yeah, I know. And he said, you know that's not a compliment, right? And I said, Steve, I'm right and they're wrong, and I'm comfortable with my position.
One of his more senior mentors was far more blunt, allegedly telling him,
First of all, let's call a spade a spade. He said, this is a torture program, and somebody's going to go to prison. Do you want to go to prison?
So you can imagine the stakes you're subjected to as a high-ranking CIA.
Many years ago, NASA released a bunch of documents related to UFOs. The event was attended by journalists, hosted by blah, 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 blah. Both in the U.S. and Nazi rocket program, the journalists asked him how both the Nazis and the U.S. had advanced technology so quickly in a short time. He gestured to the files and said, we need help. No, it's very well known that America poached. Like, that's such surface level knowledge. America's advancements in science literally was because they poached a bunch of really smart Nazi scientists after World War II. Because they were like, okay, so you can either go to prison or you can help us. And they're like, okay, well, I don't want to go to prison. That's such basic knowledge.
Officer. It's simply not normal. You're in the thick of
Operation
9/11,
Paperclip,
the
yeah.
Iraq War, and now a notorious torture program. On the Joe Rogan Experience, John lays out what those techniques actually were.
They strip you naked, they chain you to an eye bolt in the ceiling so you can't lay or kneel or sit or anything. You can't get comfortable in any way. They chill the cell to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and then every hour somebody comes in and throws a bucket of ice water on you. But we killed people with that technique. His heart actually stopped during a waterboarding session, and the doctor revived him just so he could be tortured more.
Then in December 2007, his career was about to detonate when Brian Ross at ABC News contacted him, where he discusses this moment with Joe Rogan.
So I called Brian Ross, I said, I'll give you your interview. And I decided that whatever he was going to ask me, and he never told me in advance what he was going to ask me, I was just going to tell the truth. And I said 3 things in that interview that changed the course of the rest of my life. I said that the CIA was torturing its prisoners. I said that torture was official US government policy. It was not the result of any rogue officer. And I said that the policy had been personally approved by the president himself. And then, as you can imagine,
They do this in other countries too. I know, mind-blowing. People do horrible things to get information out of people that they deem valuable, to the point where they don't want to kill them, obviously, because then the information is lost. Yeah, every single one. Every country. Even the small ones, I'm sure. If they have any vested interest in information, yeah.
In 24 hours,
Maybe
the
your
CIA files
could
what's
be.
called
You
a
would never
crimes
know.
report against me with the FBI.
Now, here's the twist in John's story. He says Abu Zubaydah's waterboarding lasted about 35 seconds, after which Abu cooperated. But this turned out to be completely wrong. Declassified documents later...
But that's against the rules? That's against the rules if you get caught! Isn't it ethically illegal in the US? Yeah, but if you're the government, what is the government gonna do to you? If you make the rules, you can do whatever you want with the rules, goober.
revealed he was waterboarded at least 83 times in a single month. It was much worse than John said. It was brutal, painful, horrific, not quick and easy. So as a whistleblower from within the CIA, that's a bad look. As he says, waterboarding happened, but it wasn't that bad as far as waterboarding goes. His excuse was that the CIA fed him disinformation.
I don't think any waterboarding is fun. I saw people doing waterboarding, not for fun, but like to show how horrible it is. And even in a completely safe environment where it's just people that you trust that you're doing it, it's still extremely unpleasant. Like, imagine you're scared for your life. Like, you're fucking freaking out. You feel like you're gonna die.
Internally, which the CIA dismissed.
Yeah.
So to some, it looked like he delivered a soft version of the torture program to the public
do it yourself
before
in the
it fully
shower.
leaked.
Yeah, but I'm
and
talking
he
about like
barely
other
mentions
people
this
doing it.
at
It's
all.
fucking
He said
awful.
this on the Joe Rogan Experience.
That's the worst part of this. No, none of it was effective.
There are basically two outcomes. He was either an unwitting propagandist or a victim of a CIA internal deception. But the whole feud was real and escalated when he took on John Brennan, the CIA director at the time.
Brennan immediately sends a memo to Eric Holder, the new attorney general, and says, talking about me, charge him with espionage. And
no way.
Holder writes back, we got these memos in discovery when I went to trial. Holder writes back and says, my people don't think he committed espionage. And then Brennan writes back and says, charge him anyway and make him defend himself.
And when John talks about Brennan, he describes an apparatus of killing that functioned much like a weekly staff meeting.
John Brennan had the Tuesday morning kill list meetings because the tech got sophisticated enough that you could just write up a list of people that you want to kill that week.
What?
And you dish
like
out the assignments.
Note? The death note is real?
The teams go out,
No
they
way.
kill everybody that's on the list, and then they meet next Tuesday and get that kill list.
On the diary of his
Kill list is crazy.
CEO, he put the human cost on this whole experience, which obviously tore him and his family apart.
So they arrested me and charged me with 5 felonies, including 3 counts of espionage. Espionage can be a death penalty case. Charged me with espionage. They waited until I went bankrupt 10 months later with $2 million in legal fees. And then they dropped the espionage charges.
So that's why he went to prison, and he said that it was terrible for him.
You think you can step back into your life again, and you can't. Your life is never going to be the same.
Because?
Because you're not the same. You know, everybody comes out of prison with PTSD. Everybody.
It's a pretty dramatic whistleblower arc, and one that gives him a lot of credit, despite
If he actually went to prison.
one major blip in his credibility, which may be explainable if the agency duped him. And now he's gone viral on TikTok for his podcast appearances, which is either a beautiful irony or exactly the kind of thing that should make you pay very close attention. On the diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett asked him directly whether the CIA has a podcasting strategy. Now you can probably imagine what the response might be here. I mean, the CIA's been influencing the media since Operation Mockingbird all the way back in the 50s.
I think even before that it just wasn't called the CIA. I think propaganda in like World War I and II was probably like CIA coded. They just didn't have a name for it at the time. Yeah, all those propaganda and stuff, all those propaganda posters and cartoons, like Disney was involved with it. Yeah.
Shocking was when the New York Times published a massive investigation that revealed the Pentagon had recruited over 75 retired military officers to appear on every major TV network, all as quote-unquote independent military analysts. Internal Pentagon documents called them message force multipliers. They were given classified briefings, talking points, and free trips to Iraq. Many of them worked simultaneously for military contractors who profited from the wars they endorsed on air. That program ran from 2002 to 2008 across Fox, CNN, NBC, CBS, and ABC.
Dude, the graininess of this, like, God, that is so nostalgic to me.
Fox,
right there. Oh my God, that is nostalgia.
And then NBC, CBS, and ABC. It was called Psyops and Steroids by one of its own participants. And when it was exposed, not a single network covered this. In fact, there was a near total media blackout on a story about the media. So John naturally couldn't deny this question.
Do you think the CIA have a strategy for podcasters and for podcasting?
I think yes, now they do. It took them a little while to get current, but just like they, over time, developed a strategy with Hollywood, sure, they're developing a strategy with podcasters. You know, it was only in the last 10 years that the CIA opened a branch within the Office of Public Affairs whose job it is solely to liaise with Hollywood studios.
Then he was
I mean, what are we talking about here? Disney propaganda, like the ones with Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, and it would show them beating the Nazis and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I'm one of those people that I think 9/11 was an inside job. I was blackpilled really early on in my life about that stuff. I've always questioned the government. I think the government has some good ideas, but then at the end of the day, they do some fucking horrendous shit. A lot of it might be a CIA op, yep. Totally.
Asked about Andrew Bustamante, another ex-CIA officer who's become a media phenomenon, and gave another motive.
Andrew Bustamante has really made a handsome living out of selling his experience. Yeah. And he's on every podcast.
Yeah. I've heard of
and
that
that's true.
Name, yeah.
Andrew is everywhere. But it's a bit of a slip if John thinks people aren't going to eventually file him into the same category.
Yeah.
So we asked John to discuss why the CIA is clearly targeting the podcast circuit. And
because it's extremely popular. That's why. Lots of normies watch it. Like, what? Why do they target? Why do they target this popular thing? Why do they target Hollywood? Why do they target the music industry? It's because it's popular. What?
Response that is part of the agency's media strategy and a lucrative side hustle for retired spies. He said he's often asked to comment on Fox News and admits that podcasting has become a career outlet where personal branding and delivery matter just as much in any other content creation niche.
But I think you are correct in your assumption that it's really about self-branding. We're in a new media world, a new media landscape where it's all about podcasting. And there's significant money at stake here through advertising. And so there are a lot of CIA people. I'm thinking of, Andrew Bustamante being probably the leading one who's out there making money on his CIA career, Mike Baker, and there are others, myself included. And, sometimes it leads to something else. I'm on Fox News all the time. Yeah. I used to be on CNN a lot, MSNBC occasionally, no more. It's almost strictly Fox. But
wonder how many streamers are already in CIA's pocket. See, I would love to know that, genuinely. But I don't think there's that many. I don't know. CIA VTuber when? I don't know. Fucking who knows? Maybe an entire agency is CIA.
That's kind of the goal of all of these guys. It's all about self-branding.
I even think that memes, to a certain extent, are sometimes CIA like psyops.
Bustamante is the first name to pop into John's head because he's been monetizing his ex-CIA role for decades. He built something called Everyday Spy, the first ever digital spy training platform where he teaches civilians the CIA's recruitment framework. On his first Diary of a CEO appearance, he described what the CIA looks for in its recruits.
Specifically when CIA recruits field operators, it's fairly transparent. They tell you that you were recruited because you are a little f***ed up. They tell you that you were recruited because of a certain psychological profile that makes it so that you pragmatically view things like secrets and lies.
He also admitted something that would be alarming coming from anyone else, but gets packaged as aspirational self-awareness that serves your career.
There is a tie between childhood trauma and high performance. It's a well-known, it's a documented connection, but CIA has learned, as has MI6 and Mossad and all the other intelligence services of the world, they've learned that when you train someone who has just the right amount of childhood trauma,
you don't want too much mental illness. You need a little bit. That's why VTubers are probably CIA ops.
Performance, when you get your hands on them at the right time and the right period of their life, they can be trained to become extremely loyal, highly productive field operators.
John agrees on this point and has said the same thing multiple times, that the CIA actively looks for broken, sociopathic yet intelligent people who are comfortable with the world you're absorbed into.
The CIA actively seeks to hire people who have sociopathic tendencies. People, not sociopaths. Sociopaths have no conscience. People with sociopathic tendencies do have a conscience. They do react in a polygraph exam. But because we believe we're the good guys, we're happy to work in legal, moral, and ethical gray areas.
So do you have sociopathic tendencies?
Absolutely.
Yep.
And what are your sociopathic tendencies?
They react, yeah.
My sociopathic tendency was to operate...
Was? What do you mean was? King, come on. What do you mean was?
In legal, moral, and ethical...
Oh, guys, don't worry. I just turned it off.
...gray areas.
Andrew's credentials are generally viewed as overblown, and when he went head-to-head with John in a debate, you could pretty much see who was pulling the line and who had something more authentic on the table.
In 1945, 1946, we executed Japanese soldiers who had waterboarded American POWs. On January the 11th, 1968, the Washington Post ran a front-page photograph of an American soldier waterboarding a North Vietnamese prisoner. That soldier was arrested, convicted of torture, and sent to prison for 20 years. All of a sudden, in 2002, torture is legal because John Yoo and Jay Bybee say it is. But the law never changed.
People commented stuff like this. This interview shows exactly what went wrong in the last 20 years. We used to have a country run by Johns, and now we have a country run by Bustamantes. And quote, so what we have here is a guy willing to go to jail for his beliefs and a guy willing to change the rules to stay out of jail. Andrew, for his part, described the CIA's internal culture with the kind of delusionment that sounds like a confession but functions more like a sales pitch.
I mean, honestly, it's actually kind of a clever ploy because people are gonna say that you're a plant no matter what, and that gives you the benefit of the doubt that, like, oh, everybody calls me a plant, but I'm not. So it's like, I don't know, it's like a weird psychological trick.
You will start to believe that
and
you
then
are...
you'll say, like, yeah, I used to be ex-CIA, or yeah, I'm totally a plant. Then people aren't gonna believe you. Alana's a plant? Yep. There it is. See? You're not gonna believe me now that I said it.
are not good enough.
I can't prove it to
if you stay inside, because you'll end up being gaslit by the system.
The culture convinces you that you can't do anything else.
Yeah.
Your skills are so unique. Your training is so specific. You can't do anything else.
Yeah.
And that's just simply not true.
That's Andrew describing the CIA as a psychologically abusive institution. But his entire brand is built on selling the skills that the institution produces. So maybe it's just personal opportunism, making a career after you leave the agency. There's actually a whole cottage industry surrounding the CIA. Andrew even wrote a book called Everyday Espionage, Winning the Workplace, subtitled Read the Room, Build Quiet Power, and Negotiate with Confidence, and Earn the Raise You Deserve. He's selling you the asset recruitment...
That sounds like a fucking pyramid scheme to me.
Cycle repackaged as a career hack.
Yeah,
CIA tactics sold as LinkedIn content. There are hundreds of books, TV shows,
Be the lion, be the quiet one in the room. People are gonna read your aura.
courses tied to so-called top secret tactics. And if all this raises some skepticism, you haven't even seen Mike Baker yet. Baker has appeared on Joe Rogan at least 21 times. 21. His Twitter handle is MBCompanyman. His website is mbcompanyman.com. The company man is slang for a CIA officer. He passed off accusations of CIA interference in overseas politics.
Of course that's what we're doing, right? Of course we're trying to influence hearts and minds. Of course we're infiltrating organizations to try to influence the direction of a government.
Or this classic, where he confesses to stealing state secrets like it's too obvious to even bother thinking about.
It's like John Brennan, who was a director at the agency. He talked about the business of the CIA and says, we don't steal secrets. God damn it, of course we steal secrets. That's the point of the exercise, right?
It's called a limited hangout. You admit to something controversial, but you frame it as so obvious that
Again, super charismatic. That's why people like them a lot. And again, nothing against these people. I mean, like, at the end of the day, ex-CIA or not, you're probably just kind of doing your job and doing it in your best interest. Yeah, his handler. Who's my handler? Who's my handler? Is it the manager?
mission itself seems facile and normal. And on Epstein, even Baker followed what is now the CIA's official line.
You think this freak show of Epstein wasn't like, it didn't have hidden cameras or wasn't taped and shit? Or what? I mean, come on.
So, 100%. But Mossad, whoever it is that was involved in this intelligence gathering, I mean, I'm just guessing. I have no idea. But there's fucking pinhole cameras all over that house.
And the list of former intelligence
Pinhole
operatives appearing across
1950s,
non-legacy
bro.
media is practically endless beyond those we've talked about. Brian Dean Wright, another former CIA officer who worked at Baker's company Diligence, running a daily podcast literally called The President's Daily Brief, using the name of the CIA document given to the president every day. Then there's Mark, 26 years in
Hiding
CIA
in plain
operations,
sight,
co-hosting The
dude.
Crisis Room, a show openly marketed as the journalist, the politician, and the spy. He recently said Havana Syndrome was a massive CIA cover-up.
I said this when we watched a video on it.
And you can see the contrast with the legacy media. You generally don't see these people doing long, unfiltered sit-downs on
And
CNN.
it goes against your psychology of when someone admits to something so fucking horrendous that it affirms your crazy belief, that it makes you think like, oh, well, I guess they wouldn't say that if they really did it. It's them saying it because they want to seem more like open. It's weird how the human mind works like that. Like being so outrageous. Of course it was. Well, yeah, I mean, I thought it was fucking ridiculous.
or the BBC. They turn up for uninterrupted conversation with minimal pushback. You can also see how they pop up when there's something trending to discuss, an opportunity to step up and give answers.
What
When
if Pippa's
UFOs become a serious
psyop?
congressional topic and everyone was fascinated in
believe
possible cover-ups, the intelligence community again flooded the podcast circuit. David Grush testified under oath about crash retrieval programs and non-human biology. He then popped up on Joe Rogan. Luis Elizondo claimed the
Aliens!
government possesses exotic material not made by humans, while the Pentagon denied he ever ran the program he says he led. He also popped up on Joe Rogan. People have a word for the more obvious CIA voices mixing in with the public discourse. They call them glowies. The term comes from Terry Davis, a schizophrenic computer programmer who
Absolute cinema. Absolute cinema.
created an entire operating system he claimed was dictated to him by God. In a 2017 YouTube video, he said CIA agents glow in the dark.
CIA agents glow in the dark. You can see.
My chat, I know it's a YouTube video, but like my heart stopped for a second. So, bro, I was like, no, don't say it.
See them if you're driving. You just run them over. That's what you do.
Adapted as the go-to slang for any federal agent or intelligence officer who's obviously present in public. The joke is that these people are too visible to be genuinely covert, but the joke only works.
But then because they look so fucking obvious and retarded, people aren't gonna be like, oh, well, that's too obvious, right? Like, it's so dumb, but like it works. Like, if you see a guy dressed out in public that you would think like, man, this guy looks really weird, but then you're thinking like, would they make it that weird? Wouldn't they want to make it as non-obvious as possible? Yeah, like, it just works.
If you assume the visibility is accidental, but what if it's not? What if it's just part of the same game?
Exactly.
On Carlos Watson, when asked if he's a good liar, John said,
"Are you a good liar?"
I think I am a good liar, yeah.
So you don't know because he's admitting to it, but then you're like, wait a minute, then he's lying, but then is he truthful? Okay, maybe he's saying half of the truth. Oh, well, if he's exaggerating, it's such a fucking crazy thing to think about. And again, I have to bring up this clip. I use this clip. Hold on, give me a minute. I use this clip all the time when I reply to people.
Fucking retards. God damn, they're stupid fucks.
Is he wrong? Is he wrong though? Is he wrong though? Legend.
Why?
Absolute legend. When she was alive.
Why am I a good liar? Because deep down, I believe we're the good guys. And lying in service of my country was something that I became good at.
And again, it's so based, but it's like, you're a glowy, so like, you're lying to me, but I kind of like it that you're just being so avant-garde. Is that the word? Like, you're being so forthcoming. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. And again, he's so charismatic, so it like actually works.
At the CIA, you're a trained liar.
Yeah.
And this is why the divorce rate's so high. It's the highest divorce rate of any entity
That's a
in
common
the US
fact,
government.
yes.
It's
He's
upwards
right.
of 80%.
After prison, nobody would hire him. He was earning about $400 a week. The Russian state media outlet Sputnik approached him. He turned them down, and then 8 months later, with 5 children and no pension, he said yes.
Why are you working with Russian state media?
Oh, because I've got 5 kids and no.
He's like, I need money. It costs money.
But he's beating a path to my door to give me work. The only people who offered me a
Russians
job
are gonna give me money,
were
yeah.
the Russians.
Which circles back to the question this whole video is really asking, because there's a fact about every single person we've discussed so far. John, Andrew, Mike, and every former CIA officer who's ever appeared on a podcast, written a book, or posted a tweet about their time at the agency. They all signed a lifetime secrecy agreement, and they all must submit everything they plan to say publicly to the CIA's pre-publication classification review board, way before this ever reaches the public. Books, speeches, blog posts, podcast talking points, op-eds, even tattoos. The regulation says, quote, any form or means of communication, including oral or electronic, which mean podcasts are not a free pass. The obligation is also lifelong. As of 2015, the CIA...
But then what if they're saying that to make it look like it's more legit?
was reviewing 184,000 pages of declarations per year. John told us this is 100% true, and that since many of his podcast talking points already appear in his books, they've already been vetted. But he also admits that if there was anything new, he would then have to go to the CIA to get it signed off.
What's the motivation of a lot of CIA officers, former CIA officers, going on podcasts? Yes,
so
you
are
right
they're
that
active.
we are all.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I think it's a front. Again, I think he's cool. I have nothing against this guy. It's just like interesting to think about.
Subject to pre-publication review.
What information
I'm
are
lucky
they just like
in
putting
that
out there?
I've written 8 books, 9 books, the 9th one's at the publishers now. And so I've told all these stories 1,000 million times. They've all gone through pre-publication review. So I can answer the questions and I can tell the stories. Now, if there's something new that I want to tell, and I've been out of the agency.
I mean, the guy pretended to be gay for the good of his country. I don't know, man. That's a patriot right there.
For 22
he
years
took it
now,
up the
so there's
butt,
nothing
probably.
new. I would have to, of course, resubmit
I don't know
to
what he did, but
pre-publication
still.
review and have it cleared.
It's pretty good.
That means every podcast quote, every book, every viral clip from every person in this video was read and approved by the CIA before you ever heard it. That also means that, by deduction, the theory that Epstein was an intelligence asset is either true and the CIA signed off on it, or it's false and the CIA is comfortable letting the public think otherwise. And both scenarios are equally interesting. The world's most powerful intelligence agency is inherently complacent about everything its officers and ex-officers revealing. But complacency does not make the revelations truthful by default. You could permit misdirection or false information the same as the truth. All this vetting process is about is protecting classified information. That means every podcast quote, every book, every viral clip from every person in this video was read and approved by the CIA before you ever heard it. So at the top, you've got the official PR layer. The CIA launched its own podcast, The Langley Files, in 2022. Yep. Director Burns said the purpose was to, quote, demystify a little bit of what we do.
But demystify specific things that make us look cool and that we're doing it for the good of America. Or the good of anyone. Like, I think that if any country published it and made it out to be good, then people would be like, oh, well, maybe the CIA isn't so bad.
So that you've got friendly formers.
Why do you think people fucking had the Patriot Act and like they all said, oh, we're doing it for the good of the country, and then people believed it because 9/11 just happened and it was. Is the word truncated the right word? I don't know, but like anyway, it kind of had like an amplifying effect of like, oh, well, they're doing it for the good of us because we're dumb. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Baker, Andrew, who normalize CIA activity, run limited hangouts, make intelligence work sound like a fascinating career rather than an instrument of state power that has overthrown governments, tortured prisoners, and surveilled its own citizens. Then you've got others who might be entirely sincere but create confusion and provide cover. And then there are those in a more genuine liminal space who bring viral moments and charisma to some of the darkest, most awful crimes humans might be involved in and make them sound kind of expected. It's all very validating. A man with a classified career confirms what you've been called a conspiracy theorist for believing, and it just feels like winning. It creates a strange sense of trust that the public is being listened to. Maybe the normalization is the operation, when millions of people watch a man describe a Tuesday morning kill list with the same energy as an anecdote about your weekend.
Yeah, this guy's reciting the death note like he's like reading an ingredient list for his like fucking omelet or something. Yeah, we just like go out and kill people and then we come back and we do it next week, guys. Don't worry about it.
It has a profound impact. The CIA spent decades terrified of public scrutiny. Now it has an ecosystem where former officers get millions of views describing exactly how the machine works, and the audience responds not with outrage but with a like button. You can't say exactly what it is, but it isn't transparency. There's an old intelligence principle: the best way to hide a secret is to surround it with so much noise that no one can pick it out. Every empire in history controlled its narrative. Most of them did it by restricting information. This one might be the first to do it by flooding the zone with so much of it that nobody can tell what matters anymore, and every single word was pre-approved from the outset.
Yep. That's right. Chat, maybe I'm CIA, you don't know that. I'm like psyoping you into feeling good about yourself and all that. You don't know! You don't know! I could be lying. I could be telling the truth. I could be just like a, I don't know, not smart enough. That's what I want you to think. Not working. What do you mean? You're big and strong. You're smart. Come on. Are my words not hitting you? I'm gonna start beating you with a stick. We saw you play games. I am better than 95% of you. Don't be fucking ridiculous. Don't be ridiculous. Don't be ridiculous. Your stream is full of lies. Yes. Good joke. It's not a joke. It's not. You guys are coping. I'm probably better than 95% of you. Actually, you know what? I'm better than 100% of you. Because I'm just that good. You guys are just salty and mad that a woman is better than you. Maybe I just have a bunch of misogynists in my chat. Yep. That's it. That's that shit. Go check them out though. That's a really good video. That was a good yap session. That's a good that's a good yap session. Oh, yeah.